we on?
That sentence out of context.
All right. I get the Erev Shabbos. Sellout crowd. Sellout crowd. So a few weeks ago, we started actually something very nice, a Night Seder program. It was a beautiful program, and it really worked for at least till now. What was it? If you come, you earn something. You don't come, you don't get something. A very simple program, right? Right, even if you come, right, that's true, thank you. Even if you come, you have to also space in, not disturb, correct. But the idea was, you do something good, you get something. You don't do something good, you're not going to get it. There was no punishment for it. There was no, it's not like now you have to do push-ups, now you got to do a workout or something like that. No, you get nothing. Interesting, in this week's Parsha, we begin in Bechukai Saitelechu, and as again you heard that Rabbi Kutov is going to, the Rosh Yeshiva is going to lay in the Teichacha, which talks about all the brachas and the klalos. What's brachas, what's klalos? Brachas are, Hashem says, if you do what's right in Bechukai Saitelechu and you go in my ways, you keep the mitzvahs and you keep the Torah, then what's going to happen? You're going to have shalom in the world, there's going to be peace, there's going to be a lot of bracha. For instance, it's going to rain in the right time, it's going to rain the correct amounts, your enemies are going to be afraid of you, you're going to eat and you're going to feel satisfied, which means that you don't have to overeat to feel good. You're going to eat a little bit and you're going to feel satisfied. You're going to feel like I ate enough. And it's going to go on. You're going to have so much abundance of food that you're going to be clearing out the storehouses from the old food because you can't even finish it to put in new ones for the new crop. And Hashem's going to be hanging out amongst us, etc. That's the brachas. And then the Torah says, and then there's going to be a lot of klalos, which is a lot of the opposite. The total opposite. There are a lot of klalos, curses, klala, that it's not going to rain in the right time. It's going to rain the wrong times. It's meaning when people want to travel, it's going to start raining. It's going to rain amounts that aren't healthy. It's going to, our enemies are not going to be afraid of us. In fact, 500 of them are going to chase away 500,000 of us. There's going to be no shalom. It's not going to be a peaceful time. You could eat a lot on a lot. You're not going to feel good. You're not going to feel satisfied. And that's the klalos. So we always think of it, how do klalos work? We always count on Zevi to answer, but he's busy, I guess. So we were talking about, whatever, coloring. And then, so how do klalos work? We think of brachas, klalos, generally it means you do something good. It's like Night Seder. You do something good, you get a trip. You don't do something good, you don't get it. You get klalos instead. It's an incentive program, very simple. The Torah's incentive program. You want it to rain, you got to do the mitzvahs. If you do averos, that's your punishment. That's your klala. It's a punishment. It's like a simple system, right? We all, anyone with a small kid, you go to bed on time, you get it rewarded. You don't go to bed on time, I pat you. It's very simple. There's bracha, there's klala, right? Patch hard, yeah, very hard, right? You come to shachris on time, you get nothing, but you don't. Boom, you lose your phone. It's a simple punishment. It's a punishment. So of course you're going to come to shachris sometime. You don't want to lose your phone, right? That seems like the same idea. In fact, the Rishonim tell us it's totally not like that. It's not how brachas, that's not how klalos work. And it's a very, very nice way that we can look at the ways of the Torah and maybe adapt a little bit. Hashem created a rule. We learned about this in Night Seder. It's perfect. The rule is 100% perfect. Hashem is a shalim, and he's a complete perfectness. We try to get there. And as close as we get, the more limhaba we'll have. But the world is perfect. And that's why, actually, we learned very recently, someone was talking about this, if you take two animals that aren't the same breed, you can't put them together to create another thing. If you try to take two fruits that aren't the same thing and try to create something new, it's usher. The Torah says don't do that. It's called climb. Climb on an animal, climb on on fruits, on growing things. Why is that? Why? What's the problem? Climb, as the Chinuch explains very nicely, the world was created perfectly. Why was it created so perfectly? Because Hashem, God is perfect, and He created it perfectly. You're trying to create something that He didn't think of, He thought of it, and He decided, I don't want this animal. He thought of it. I don't want this fruit. So if you think it's a good thing, it's not, because it was created perfect.
Well, wouldn't that be things like a breadfruit, or instead of us having to go through the process of making flour, adding water, why would we let it in yeast, letting it rise, and then eating it? Why isn't it just the breadfruit?
Because he wants us to go ahead and make it.
I'm saying within the idea.
No, he doesn't want you to go ahead and make the other fruit. You're creating something new. You're taking flour, you grind it up, you're turning it to bread.
So how do you know what you're supposed to be able to make and what you're not supposed to be able to make?
Oh, so the halachas of Klein. Very good. The halachas of Klein. When you're growing things, what you could put next to each other, what you can't. Very good. So you have to learn the halachas to know what not, what yet. So, but we're not going to focus totally 100% on that. What animals you could put together, what you can't. But the idea is that it's perfect. It's a perfect world, yeah.
Why are we letting
Ooh, very good, very good. You're in 12th grade, you're not by night Seder by us. It's a good point. I'll tell you afterwards. Because why? Meaning, once a guy made the grapefruit and it's a climb fruit, why are you allowed to do that? It's awesome. Why are you allowed to eat it? Why are you allowed to use an animal, right, a mule, if it came out from something usher? It's a good question, but I don't want to answer it right now. But I won't tell you afterwards. Very good. But it's us to do it because the world was created perfect. Brachas and klalos work like this. The Ramban explains very nicely. How do brachas work? When a person does the mitzvahs and he keeps the way of the Torah, the world works perfectly. And the world was created that's going to rain in the correct time. It's going to, you don't need to eat so much to be satisfied. It's going to have more nutrition in the bread, in the flour, in the fruits, that you don't have to eat a lot. You don't have to eat 2 deli sandwiches because the bread of one is going to fill you up because it's full of nutrition. And people are going to be afraid of us. Why? Because Klal Yisrael, they were made to be afraid of us. The idea is when we're doing what's correct, when we're doing the mitzvahs, and we're showing Torah mitzvahs, and we're following in Hashem's ways, the world works like it should work, and this happens automatically. It's not an extra incentive. For instance, when a person, right, comes to night study, he goes on a trip, that he does something good, he gets something good. It's not he's getting something good. It's working correctly. The world is working correctly. And vice versa, how do klalos work? Klalos are curses. It's an einish. We look at it as a punishment. It's like, oh wow, we're getting patched. It's not the way it works. When we don't act correctly, when we don't go in the ways of the Torah, then the rain automatically doesn't fall in the right time. People are not afraid of us. And all the things that says in the klalos, that the food isn't correct, the food doesn't fill us up, because nothing works correctly. When it doesn't work correctly, it doesn't work. When it doesn't work, that's the klala. So when we think of bracha and klala, you think of a good, like, oh, you get a reward. You're getting something extra reward, and you're getting a klala, a punishment, you're getting a patch. It's not really true. Brachas and klalas work very, very differently. They work that the world was created perfect, and it was created to service us, and everything works perfectly. But that's only when we work in the ways of the Torah. When we go in the derech HaTorah, then it works correctly. If you don't, it doesn't work correctly. But it's not a punishment. It's just the mechanics of the world don't work. That's just how it works. A person has a car. He fills it up with gas. It drives. It's not an extra reward of putting in gas. It's just the way it works. If he doesn't take care of his car, if it doesn't have oil in it, it's not going to drive. It's the same idea. If a person works correctly, if we go in the derech HaTorah, the world works correctly. It's not a reward. It's not a punishment. It's just natural in the Bria Sa'olam, how the way the Rebbeinu Shalom made the world. So this goes back to a very interesting thing that it's Aaron Glicksman's favorite topic. Aaron, right? Global warming. People like to say, is it real? Is it not real? I can't tell you if it's real or not, but I promise you one thing. That I had to wake you up one day.
I just got a little worried.
I know. Right? And the same idea. When people don't act correctly, then it causes global warming. The world doesn't act correctly. It doesn't. The seasons don't come in the right time. They don't get to the right temperatures, and the things don't. Whatever is happening in global warming, the icebergs are melting. Why? Because we're not doing what's right. So maybe it is true. Maybe it's not true. But it's not because science is, because we're polluting the world and etc. When we don't go in the right way, the world doesn't work and the icebergs melt. Right? When people. No, we're not going to talk about the other topic on camera. Right? But that's natural. That's just natural in global warming, the way exactly it works. So what does that have to do with us? What does that have to do with us? It's a very nice point, and just understanding schar einish. Now, just not to mix up, you get schar. There is schar in the world to come. Schar mitzvah means when a person puts on tefillin in the morning, he gets schar for that. What's a schar? His schar is very deep. He gets deeper connection to the Rebbeinu Shalom, gets closer, and he's able to receive the good. And there is schar. This is for the Klal Yisrael as a whole, that when we act correctly, the world acts correctly. And vice versa, when we don't, it doesn't. So what's that? What's the message for us? Because we have to have a message. Yes, is very nice. That the amount that we're in control, that we have to recognize our actions, the control we have in everything we do. If a person wants things to work correctly in this world, the rain and etc., that things should work, it depends on us. When we go in Derech HaTorah and each one of us act correctly, it doesn't just affect us personally, it affects everything around us, everybody around us. Like we talk about Kriya Shema, all the things that it talks about in the V'Hayim Shemaya, that if you listen in my ways, then the rain will come and etc. and whatever, all the brachas are over there, all those things are going to come when we act that. Because our actions make a big difference in not just for us personally, but for everything, everyone in the entire globe around us. That you're going to eat, you'll be satisfied. And etc. Hashem turns his anger to us. It doesn't mean that there's anger. It just doesn't work. When we don't go in that way, when we recognize that our actions are making the good and our actions are the vice versa cause it not to work correctly, hopefully we would take more responsibility of what we do, and with that, have a good Shabbos. Shkoyach.